to week 12, and as you can tell by the date of the week, that we are moving a lot through this semester rather quickly, and we are getting towards the tail end of it with just about that last quarter of the semester here in the sight as we kind of move through November and then get ready for the final exam. So the good news for you is that you've already been, if you've been doing the work, you've already been working on your argument paper. And so leading off of last week, what I had you really do is approach your thesis statement, which is the what that you're trying to say, and engage in your rhetorical situation, which is the environment that you're going to enter and how you plan to appeal to your readers in that environment. So with those works in mind, we're going to start taking the next steps here to drafting your argument paper. So it might seem early, and I want to remind you that good writing, any writing, and maybe anything, any sort of creative endeavor is not this idea that you're going to have this moment of brilliance all of a sudden, or that you're going to do all the work and then be able to communicate it well the first time through. That may happen for some people, but it sure doesn't happen for me, and it doesn't happen for most writers that I meet regularly. What tends to happen is that we go and write for a while and then revise it, and then write for a while and revise it, and then write for a while and revise it. Or, as one of my advisors told me, good writing is you go make a mess and then clean it up. And that's kind of what I'm asking you to do this week, is to go make a mess of your argument paper and kind of just get your ideas out there so that you and I and your classmates can be in a conversation with each other about your ideas and how you want to get those across effectively. It just won't work. There's never been, at least in my history, good writing that comes from, and not because anyone's procrastinating or anything. It's just this idea of I can get to it later, or I'm not really sure what to say. So you kind of hope for it to come, and then it all comes together at one time, and it just doesn't work well. But you've got plenty of time now once you start to keep the ball going. So as this assignment for this week, and then all the things that I'm going to be returning to you this week, you're going to have more and more feedback for how you want to get better as a writer, how you want to compose. And this approach is following much of what we've done throughout the semester, which is giving you some general instruction on the front end, and then letting you go and write, and then coming backward at the end and saying, okay, well, how about this, and try this. Just because I think that's an effective way to present the information to you, and also so that it can get you writing, because as with always, I'm more concerned about hearing your voice in this rather than I am concerned about whether or not you answer a question or something like that. So that's what we're doing this week, is you're going to compose the introduction and your first couple of body paragraphs, and we're going to look at some resources that will help you with this assignment this week, and overall with your approach to the argument paper. So as we look at this is your Blackboard page. As we scroll down here to week 12, you'll see that we're talking about the initial rough draft. And in the objectives and checklist, you'll see that I'm going to ask you to compose the opening 2 to 3 paragraphs of your argument paper. And please, I'm going to ask you again, try not to view that as a terribly intimidating thing. It's simply a measure of we're getting your ideas on the paper. I'm not going to be grading any of these as to whether or not they were accurate, or that in terms of grammatical accuracy or things like that. I just want to see your ideas out there, and so that we can have feedback on them, so that you can be working on this paper throughout the next couple of weeks. So as a part of that, you're already watching the week 12 video. There's some helpful resources here: how to write an engaging introduction, creating and revising a strong thesis statement, connecting source material to claims, and then there's that last assignment. So it's due by Sunday, 11/5. So, and remember that all of the assignments we're doing this semester, you're just going to build on top of what you're doing, which you've already seen, because I had you draft your thesis statement last week, and now it seems weird that I'm going to give you another article on writing a thesis statement. But that's by design, so that you can get something out there, learn more about how to approach it, and then put more information out there. What's new this week is the information on how to write a compelling introduction and the information on how to integrate with your source. And we're going to talk more about that this week and next week. So let's take a quick look. I wanted to point to a couple of things in the reading materials that I think will be very helpful. So this is from our shared textbook. It is from the How to Write an Engaging Introduction chapter. And what this was really helpful to do for you is to avoid some of the things that you've learned perhaps about what they call in my son's class, or my daughter's class too now at this point, clincher statements, right? Or these opening introductions. It's the idea that you can get out there and just make this huge, compelling statement that invites people in. And usually our tendency when given such a huge assignment is to kind of think about it in terms of this, I got to grab somebody's attention. And we kind of come up with what the, like if a professional wrestler used to come out, or even at football games, like we have to say something explosive at the beginning. What tends to happen, unfortunately, is that you get statements like these that ultimately have nothing to do with your assignment or are just simply unprovable. So from the beginning of time, ever since the dawn of time, since man first walked the earth, you could probably make a compelling case that a statement about technology could apply to when man first walked the earth, but you're not talking about going back to the beginnings of mankind to prove your points. You're talking about a very specific moment. So avoid statements like that. Now, at this place, sometimes what happens is that you can write and say, I want to give, I'm showing my typing hand, sorry. I wanted to give you this, from the dawn of time, and then you start writing at that point. Usually when that happens, you can take out that opening bombastic sentence and just throw it away, and then you're actually moving on to your ideas. The most engaging and upfront thing a reader like me wants to see is clarity from the beginning. What are you talking about? How can I get to the ideas, and why is it important? Remember, we talk about the what and the why. This is the issue at hand, and why is it important for me as your audience to know? That's what you want to start addressing in your introduction. So, and here's a couple of other helpful tips for you to use, and some good examples that I think are going to be helpful to think about your ideas. And the thing about these examples, and we'll look more at this next week as well with some templates from They Say, I Say, is give those examples a try. Try them out. Plug in your stuff and see if it works, and then revise to work it backwards. If you're stuck, literally try anything. I don't mind you using one of those crazy statements like from the dawn of time if it gets you going in writing. But the work at that point is to go back and revise, to take some of those unnecessary elements out. So as you're working on your introduction, focus specifically on the what and the why, and then use this tool to help you get into what you want to say. So as we go back here to this next article, which is creating and revising a strong thesis statement. Now, I know you already have a thesis statement in place. I'm going to be giving you feedback on your thesis statement, but this is also just extremely helpful for thinking about whether or not your thesis statement is accomplishing the goal that you want it to. So let's take a look here, a couple of things that are going to be really helpful for you. These ideas of a strong thesis statement are particularly good. The precision, ability to be argued, ability to be demonstrated, forcefulness and confidence, that idea of this is the statement of where I am going. Now, I don't think any of you presume to be experts in the field, but you do have some credibility, and you do have some points that other readers may not, because you've been doing the work in researching and writing about this topic. You've got some personal engagement that other people don't have, that other people may not have. So step in there with that idea, that confidence of, I do have a point to prove, and I can prove it. Not because that you have some, maybe because you have some unique statement, but more about, I know how to construct an argument to prove this, and that's what I'm going to lead you to. And then you'll see some very helpful examples of how writers can do this as you're working through. And again, if you were struggling with your thesis statement last week, and if you're struggling with it this week, try it out. See if something works. my guess is that if you just start writing a thesis statement, even if you use the most formulaic approach, it's about 60% closer to where you need to be rather than if you got nothing at all. And so that's one of the ways to measurement is that if we're going to get toward much better as we revise, but if you never start, you will never finish. So go ahead and get started out there, put your information out there, and then we will revise it as we go through. Use this helpful tool as much as you can, and that's why you want to have this idea of revision. I talked about the article last week and about the article this week. Right? And you can see how they're working through the revision process. This early idea of here's what I'm thinking to now I'm revising what I wanted to say. So that's helpful work for helpful ideas for a strong thesis statement. And then finally, and we're going to work more directly on this next week, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to go ahead and think about how you would integrate your integrate your work with your source, where you're engaging the ideas of that particular source. And so, and this article is really helpful because it points to this ethos appeal, which, as you know, has to do with the writer's credibility, because you, as we mentioned earlier, while you might be able to argue a particular statement because of your experience, because of the way that you've got an argument lined up, your readers want to take you seriously. And some of the best ways to have someone take you seriously is to show that you have engaged with other sources, even if you end up disagreeing with those sources in the future. So take a look at this article. I think it's really helpful, and you can see a helpful way that they construct this paragraph. And there's some good examples here, as with the previous article, of things not to do in that environment. So all that leading to this. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to compose the initial rough draft of your paper. So I'm looking for an introductory paragraph and the first 1 to 2 body paragraphs, and thinking about how to best compose this. I'm going to do this kind of in real time as to way, and you would do this submission whichever way you want. But if I were to outline this, I might say something like introduction, which is where I'm going to present the topic itself, which is the problem that I want to address, and then my solution. Sorry, I can't type, and typing with a public audience is just a nerve-wracking thing in general. Or I'm also just a bad typer, and I have to go back and fix a lot of stuff because my hands move too fast, and generally just kind of word salad ends up all over the page, and I have to go and revise my own work. So see, as much as I tell you you have to revise your stuff, I need revision just as much as you do. So if I was thinking about the topic, what the topic is and my solution, if the second paragraph, I might think of something all along those lines of the appeal to ethos of my personal connection. And this goes back to that narrative assignment, which is, why this problem matters to you. And then as a part of that, I would also, sorry about that. Let's see. Why this problem matters to you, and then also why it, and I think it might add this to, this is, as you talk about the problem itself, is why it matters to the world. So in this topic, in this opening introduction, you have, and I thought about putting it in that second paragraph, but I think it fits better now as I'm drafting in real time, that you would explain the problem and why it matters to your reader early on. That's part of that engagement with your reader first thing, so that they are on board with why this topic matters, why they should care about what you're having to say. And then we keep rolling into your personal connection, why this matters to you. So we've established why the audience should care. Now we're establishing why you care, and then we're going to think about what my source says. Now, is this the only way to write the paper itself? No, you can write it any way you want, but this is a helpful way to think through your ideas, because sometimes the biggest problem we have is, how do I get my ideas on paper? How do I effectively communicate them? So we would say what my source says and then my response. to my source. And we're going to keep working on that next week. So that would be a way that you could outline your general ideas to move through them in this assignment. Remember that the most important thing that I am looking for right now is your engagement with the idea. So if it's helpful, just take this and plug it in and start writing it. And I will be able to see and let you know how well things are going. If they're not going well, I'm happy to tell you, because my goal, like your goal, is that you succeed and grow as a writer. Remember that once you are done with this assignment, you have to click submit twice. I know it's terrible. I wish it was not the case, but I don't have much control over such things. So what I want you to do is click submit, and then remember, you submit twice, and then you're going to see this screen come up that tells you that your submission is successful. And then if I pull up my email, I am going to see in my email an answer that I received, that the assignment was submitted. So make sure that you see both of those things in order to do this effectively. So if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to shoot me an email anytime throughout this week. I'm available, and I'm going to leave more and more time available throughout the day as we get closer to the end of the semester. So let me know how I can help. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you soon. Thanks.